If you need more, I got more. Woo! How we doing tonight, everybody? So it's Danny is out of the show tonight. So I'm your host tonight, Clint Bartlett. We're down here with the live well. Thank you guys for tuning in. We got an awesome show for you guys planned tonight. So we have a couple awesome guests in the studio. We've got Kaz Anderson over here to my left, and he is tuning in. Here, say what's up.
What's going on, everybody? Ready to have a fun show this evening.
And then we have the youngest old man I've ever met in my life, Kevin Thornton, over here.
Good to be here. I got the question for you guys tonight.
Yeah, he's got some hard questions planned for everybody. We got Alex back in the back running the boards, and we're going to rock and roll with the show tonight. So let's get started with some sponsor reads tonight. And then, of course, we got a sneaky special guest in here in the studio. Go ahead and bring him in real quick. He's got an awesome background for you guys. We got Robert G in the house, Bassmaster Elite Series, absolute hammer out there, and he is. I think he likes Tennessee a little bit.
I'd say he does.
So we're gonna get rocking and rolling with the show tonight. Get your questions ready. Get everybody in the studio just rocking and rolling with the questions. Keep us fired up to let us go for the show tonight, and we're gonna get into reading some sponsors off the awesome people that support Fish North Georgia. So we're going to start out with old Trent Palmer and the guys with Sonar Pros. They are the official sonar installer of the live well. They're rigging boats. They've rigged my boat. They rigged all of our boats in here and done an awesome job. It's the cleanest back compartment you'll ever see in your boat. Clean power goes a long way, especially when you're want the best out of your electronics. You spend a lot of money on your electronics. You want to make sure they're rigged right. So take it where the pros go. Go to Sonar Pros. Lip sticker fishing. Kevin Underwood with lip sticker fishing. He's put you on a magnum bag of spots, largemouth, whatever you want to catch. Go out there on Lake Lanier, book a guide trip. He does a lot of lives and all kinds of streams and stuff. Big things coming for him in 2025. So we want to make sure you go check him out over there. Evolve Fishing, the best rod sleeve in the game. You can stick a treble hook as hard as you can into one and it'll pop right out. They float. They're protect your rods, protect your investment. If you're going to spend the money on a nice rod, spend the money on a nice rod sleeve. And then when you get those baits snagged up on the bottom, Lake Lanier is known for all that timber and getting stuff hung up left and right. The Money Saver Lure Retriever will get that bait out of there for you. So save that money. It'll save you money in the first bait you get hung up. Bill Payne with Bill Payne Guide Service over there on Lake Allatoona. He does some other specialty trips and stuff, but give him a call. He's a local legend. He knows what he's doing out there, so give him a call. Get in touch. Brooks Anderson, our guy over there on Lake Lanier, he's a younger guy. He's been coming up and making some videos, doing all kinds of stuff, doing guide trips. He takes out high school and college anglers. He was one himself, and he went through and is doing a lot of cool stuff, fishing tournaments over there on Lanier, so go learn from him. All right, let's get into the comments here. How's it going? Oh, Ian Freeman, that's my best buddy out there. What's up, Ian? Cletus at the helm. What's up, fellers? What was the key for the Toys for Tots tournament? Well, let's ask the guy that came in third in the Toys for Tots tournament over here.
Yeah. So
by a reway, only way he came in third.
Yeah, that was reway action. No, so that was kind of a tougher tournament. We didn't catch a whole lot of fish. Personally, Ryan and I, we came in third. Luke and I mentioned the wrong partner. Luke's gonna kill me. But so we probably only caught like a dozen fish all day. Most of the fish that we caught, we kept it pretty simple through a 3/8 ounce finesse jig and a Nico rig. And that was our biggest keys. We caught 3, 4 evens, a 4-pound 5-ouncer, and a 4-pound 7-ouncer. So that was our bag. Not a lot of other fish. It was kind of tough for the time of year. Honestly, Lanier's been a little bit more stingy than what it normally would be, but we managed to get a few good bites. Fished mostly on the south end of the lake and fished shallow rock was kind of our key. Caught some fish out of ditches early in the morning to piece together a good bag, but for the most part, shallow was the deal for us. So just had to run a lot of spots and grind your nose down in the dirt and try to catch you a couple of them. That was the key for us. Some people caught them better than we did. One guy caught like an 8-pound largemouth.
Yeah, 781 on a Kitech 2.8.
Giant.
What depth did you catch yours at?
Mostly about 10 to 15 feet was when I say shallow, 10 to 15 feet. Anywhere you find rock that comes like way out off the bank, shallow, those fish would use it. There wasn't a whole lot of wind that day. When there's a lot of wind, you can catch them shallower. But for us that day, it was about dead slick calm, so the fish would get on the deepest rock. And not to get on a tangent, but when it's slick calm, light penetrates so deep, they can sit on the rock that's deeper and stay warm. So when the wind's blowing, you can catch them a little bit shallower. But for the most part, we were catching 10 to 15 foot. Yep.
Nice. Awesome. Were you catching them at all in the upper end, or you say on the south end most of the time?
I've mostly on the south end of the lake, south of Browns Bridge.
Awesome. Well, have you been fishing any, or you said you haven't been fishing very much either?
Not at all. I'm going Saturday to Oconee, though.
Okay. What's the bite going to be like there?
I'm going to be looking for rock docks on the south end.
It's going to be cold, right? It's going to start. The
I
cold
think it's
front
supposed to be about 42, 43 down there.
Okay.
That's not bad.
No, that's bearable.
And I think the high was 53, 54.
That'll be good. Tropical.
Good. Yeah. Tropical for wintertime.
Right now it is.
How about old Rob? You been fishing any?
I have. I just got off the lake today. I was at Watts Bar up here in East Tennessee. And, I mean, it was pretty good. We caught several 4-pounders and some 3s, you know. We're mainly up here, the deal is more like isolated, you know, targets, kind of like Kaz was saying, targeting that rock and 10 to 15 is similar deal up here, and stumps, you know, and little brush piles was kind of the deal today for us. Anything from jerk bait, Alabama rig, minnow, caught a few cranking, you know, little transition areas, but kind of similar to down there, but just smallmouth and largemouth.
Yeah. Do you? How are they acting? Are they still reacting a lot to those baits, or is it like are they slowing down? Are they kind of in a funk? Are they going deep or moving around, or what's going on?
Yeah, today they were kind of in a funk. You know, there was a cold front moved through, and it was kind of slick, calm, and bluebird sky. So you know, it wasn't the greatest conditions to go bass fishing. So that's kind of why we figured that out pretty fast, and you know, just fished isolated targets, you know.
I like it. How many so you said you're cranking a little bit. Were you cranking pretty deep or some shallow stuff?
No, anywhere from 4 to 8 foot.
Okay. Nice. What's up, guys, in the comments? Let's check on what we got going on there. Go up to Fred Ashcraft. That's a good one. Is this one going to be better without Danny? No, it won't, but it's still going to be a dang good show. So y'all stick around and stay tuned. Y'all ever use the Cast Echo Minnow? Yes, I have. I actually had some hand in designing that thing, and it's pretty sweet. Caught a lot of fish on that minnow. Russ Halton, what's up, man? What depth are you crank? Or you already got there? Thanks, Ian, for that one. What we got? Anyone see the confrontation with the MPFL head guy yesterday? Yeah, so there's some juice on that. There's
I need to hear this. I haven't heard about it.
I didn't hear it either.
So
I'd love to know.
Word on the street is there's a feller. I guess we shouldn't use names. I don't know.
Probably not.
Probably not. There is, because there's actually stuff involved. But there is a feller that fishes the tournament, and he posted a video because he wasn't happy about the weather cancellation on the MPFL, and someone at the MPFL or with the organization might happen to be at the very top of the organization. There's a confrontation at breakfast or something along those lines to where there is an assault charge involved. So, yeah, pretty spicy for the old fishing industry today. But, so that's about as far as we'll go into that, I guess, from what we know, because we don't really know the whole story. Maybe we'll have them on and talk about it one of these days. I don't know. So, all right.
What about Larry Hunt?
Yeah, where are you at? Oh, there's old Larry. Do you recommend Topwater this time of year, Kaz? What do you think?
It all depends. On a nice warm day, you can catch some. I've caught them on a walking bait and a wake bait this time of year. I actually just had a YouTube video go up 2 days ago where we were catching them on a wake bait at Lake Chateau. Awesome.
That's awesome.
It was sweet. A lot of
because the water's still like it's in that 55. What do you like? If it gets real
55,
cold,
yeah. Anytime I've caught them colder than that, but they'll still on a nice cloudy day, they'll come up and chase bait fish, and you can catch them on.
So, do you think you need a warming trend for that, or is it like if it's a dead cold front? I feel like that's not quite the deal.
No, but like cloudy, warmer days where you get like a front that's just starting to push in, you get a lot of active fish. Topwater can be a big deal.
Gotcha.
Kaz, what are you calling a wake bait? Is this?
Oh shoot!
You just removed him.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Say what? I can hear you now.
What are you calling a wake bait? Like
It's
a long one?
Yeah, a long A or a Berkeley surge shad is actually the bait we were using yesterday, but it's
like that
discontinued. Yeah.
Is that the one with the jointed tail?
Yeah, we were using the non-jointed one, the solid one, because it was real calm. But you can just throw it so far. It works good on herring lakes. I like the long A style bait up there around your neck of the woods.
Are you like slow rolling it, or are you just
slow rolling it? Yep. A lot of the times I'll reel it right over the fish, and if they don't seem to see it, I'll burn it really fast to get their attention and make a lot of noise. It don't have to run straight, but as soon as I can tell they've seen it, then I'll slow it back down.
Then you slow it back down.
Are
you throwing that on a pretty fast reel or in
10-to-1 Revo rocket?
Okay, so yeah,
it doesn't have to be a fast reel, but that's just what I had.
Yeah,
I like
just to
that
burn
reel
it
for
back.
Topwater.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
gotcha. All right, let's talk about the opens a little bit, Kaz. You're about to go through the opens gauntlet. Let's hear how are you preparing for that?
Trying to be like Rob.
Yeah.
But no, so gonna have a year full of it next year, fishing the Bassmaster Opens Division 2 and the Central Division Toyota Series. So got a calendar full, gonna do that. Guide at the same time. In goals, the Bassmaster Elite Series. It's been a dream of mine since I was 8 years old. My dad first took me fishing. So, full steam ahead this coming year, schedule full. I'm super excited. I waited till I was out of college to give it a try. Life slows down a little bit, and I got some downtime right now. So, blessed to give it an opportunity. I was indifferent about it, and, I got a super supportive family all the way around, helping me out, encouraging me to do it, and very blessed.
That's awesome. And having that background, you got to have a team. Like, it takes a team to be able to go through that. And I know, Rob, you've had awesome support that helped you get through college fishing. You want to talk about going through college fishing to the opens and things like that? Like, how does that support system help you get to where you are now in the Elite Series?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I couldn't be here without that. But going through college, the university somewhat helped, but it's basically, family and friends that kind of have to help you out and help you go to all these different lakes. We went to Wisconsin and New York and Michigan and Florida, all over the place in college, and it kind of just led me into how I have to do it once you get onto the opens level, and then now on the elites. Like, it was a good stepping stone into all that. You know what I mean? nothing really caught me off guard going through, after college because of what I learned in college and everything that happened there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome.
So what advice do you have for Kaz? We'll get into this early. Like what do you think was the edge factor that helped you make it through the gauntlet of the opens? Like what does Kaz need to know going in? He's been through college fishing. He's done some Toyotas. He's done some big tournaments. Like what does he need to know? He's fished some opens too. Like you fished some opens. Co-angler style. But like what does he need to know going in? Like what do you think will help him rise above and make it to the elites?
The thing that always seemed like it helped me in every tournament, it seemed like, or I wouldn't say every tournament, but I don't know, 75% of them was finding areas that didn't even hold fish in practice, but like following the bass and like being so dialed in to know where they could end up and having that checked off. Like with all this pressure, they could go here, and I have all these areas marked where they could go. And that's kind of how I approached it because, whenever I don't know if it's still the same, but we had 5 days of practice. And 225 boats or 200 boats of the best just cutthroat anglers in the world just smash on the bass. And they feel the pressure big time. By day 3 of practice, those fish are definitely changing up what they're actually doing. So by the time the tournament rolls around, it's a completely different lake, and it doesn't really even fish like it should. You know what I mean? So and always keep an open mind. Like a lot of the fish I weighed in on like day 2 was nowhere I'd even ever fished on that lake or even practiced. It was just something I'd either marked or something that felt right, or just like I kind of got to put the pieces of the puzzle together day by day and just trust your instincts.
So did you have like a plan A, a plan B, plan C when you're going through practice and finding stuff, and you just go through the list as the tournament goes on? Or like how do you know when to pull the plug at the end of the day?
Yeah. So basically, I'm going to give you what kind of I did is I would have what you were saying, plan A, plan B, try to get at least 4 or 5 plans and, try to do plan A and B. Most of the time that didn't work because somebody else would be on it. Somebody else would be already running it. So you have to go to C and D. And in between all these plans you have to have places where you can pull up and just get a bite. You know what I mean? Marking little rock crop outs. Like that was the biggest thing that I think that helped me. And a lot of the guys that qualified with me was we were big offshore scanners, and like every little stick and twig on a bluff bank or on a flat, we had all that stuff marked. Like, so if we were running a pattern down a bank, in between banks we wanted to run or dock stretches we wanted to run, there's 2 sticks over here. We would stop and cast at them real bang, bang. And like a lot like how Brian thrift fishes is how I approach the opens, just kind of running around, casting at stuff and running patterns as well. Just I just tried to catch as many fish as I could each day. You know what I mean? It wasn't like I was going out there and trying to bust a big bag. I'm going for 5 bites and hopefully they're the right ones. It wasn't none of that. I was just trying to stay getting bit.
So are you the type of guy that's like, let me just get a limit first and then I'll focus on big ones? Or are you trying to like get the biggest quality right off the bat? Or like, are you like, let me go to the starting hole and at least have something and then change it up? Or like, how do you approach that?
It depends on the lake, but the majority of the time, I always, even if I knew the biggest fish I could catch there was a 3-pounder, like I would go catch a limit fast if I could. Just because for me personally, I don't like being the 2 hours or an hour left in the day and not having a limit. Like I don't fish free, and I've never I have a couple times, but every time I've busted a big bag, I've caught them throughout the whole day. So I try to start out with just a base level limit and then work from there, because that means I can fish free, and it gives you more confidence. And that's the thing you're always trying to, honestly, and that for me is trying to always fish with confidence, because you can get spun out fast, especially practicing 5 days straight and being worn out. Then you have to fish the hardest tournament there is against some just cutthroat guys pulling up, cutting you off. I mean, you got to be mentally dialed in and just stay getting bit. So I always tried to catch a limit fast.
Fair enough. And you faced a lot of that adversity this year, not only with laying in the bottom of the boat, being sick as a dog and puking your guts out, just not feeling good, to having to deal with other anglers on certain spots and things like that. So when that stuff happens, I mean, you kept it pretty cool, calm, and collected this year. I think you did a really good job of representing yourself and the people that are on your shirt and behind your back. You did a really good job of representing those brands. What's some advice for Kaz, to go in and how do you stay calm in those situations? Kaz has somebody pull up right on a spot that he's been leading the tournament off of. How do you deal with that?
I always just try to keep the perspective that everybody's watching, because I mean the camera's rolling, so you don't want to go just rogue and go Ishman Rowe, Keith Poche on them.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm so young in my career, I don't want any bad publicity, so I always just try to stay level-headed and just worry about myself, that kind of a deal.
I like it. All right, let's get into some of the questions. Go up to Guy B. What are the top 3 baits for the ditch bite? I'm going to throw this one to old Kaz.
Ditch bite on Lake Lanier, Lake Chattooga, all the lakes around here. I stick with, a jig head minnow style bait. My favorite of all time is probably a Nico rig, just to get bites, and then, a really heavy jig, like a 3/4 ounce football jig is probably my favorite to drag around in those ditches. Early in the morning, I fish a little bit shallower, and as the day goes on, fish will come out to kind of the timber edge. And ditches, you might be in a ditch, but I always try to key in on those ditches that might have a rock pile over here or a brush pile over here, and fish isolated structure like Rob was talking about in the ditches. And you seem to be a lot more efficient that way. It's rare that you find a ditch with a school of fish in it and they're actually worth weighing in for me.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things. On Saturday, it's we rolled up in the ditch and we ended up culling a bunch, but it was we weren't catching that 5-pounder. We were catching those 3 to 4 pounders that were helping cull us from 12 pounds up to 19. But it wasn't if we didn't capitalize and catch a 5-pounder that morning, we wouldn't have had 19.
Yeah.
So it is one of the things with the ditch bite, is knowing that timing. I feel is super, super dependent, and it changes throughout the winter. We're still in the very, very beginning of we had a very mild fall, and we're still, I mean, water's temps are still very warm and starting to finally cool down now. But yes, the ditch bite is a lot of fun. Let's go to Tatum Pruitt's comment because she ain't wrong. I am not Danny.
She's calling us out.
That is Danny's daughter. Troy Mims, buzz baits under docks at Sinclair in December. What y'all know about that? Anybody?
Oh, Coney too.
Really?
Yeah.
That's sneaky.
What do you know about that?
Just working the docks real well with a buzz bait or a wake bait too along the sides.
Are you skipping them up under there? Are you like a toad guy, or what do you?
No, buzz bait, and I'm not getting them way up underneath there. Just 4 to 5 feet in, because I'm not a great skipper with a buzz bait.
You throw a toad on it, or you throw a skirt?
I throw a toad.
There you go.
I like it. All right, Hayden Seabold, do you recommend a jig this time of year? I feel like this is a targeted question at me, and I do. Son.
Rob's comment on the buzzer. Tell us about the buzzer.
Yeah, talk
Rob.
about the buzz.
I was gonna say this time of year. I mean, I know several guys around here that throw a buzz bait year round. If you're throwing a buzz bait in the cold weather like this, it's got. Can you hear me? Did I?
All right, we got you. You cut out.
It's got to have a.
Yeah.
No, okay. It's got to be more quiet version, not a big loud clacking buzz bait, like just like a little squeaker, like a rusty little squeaking buzz bait. Those are the
So are you
wintertime,
going like a lighter buzz bait
Great
then to stay a little quieter, or are you still going like
Yeah.
a 3/8?
quarter or 3/8.
What
Yeah,
else?
reeling it a little bit slower. I mean,
Gotcha.
you're not going to be throwing a 3/4 or half ouncer, just burning it.
Yeah, just chugging it through the water. I like it.
Mhm.
Doc Holliday, leader in MPFL. I hadn't looked at the standings, but he said 19 plus on Murray. I mean, that's a good. I wonder if that was Brock Vila, because he was. I watched it a little bit today. I mean, he was mentoring around. He had like 17 and a half on their way live, but
Really?
I'm sure he's
When
got
I
to
looked, he was in second. When I looked at the leaderboard, he was in second.
Okay, so somebody else had 19 something.
Yeah, like 19-13 or something, like almost 20 pounds. Last I
Where was
looked.
Shane at?
Yeah, I need to pull up the here. What's the next question? I'll pull up this. Yeah, what does Robert think about? Oh boy, the pay schedule and contribution on the elites announced today. Oh, today? What
Yeah,
was
they
announced?
revised it.
Yeah.
To
Really?
what?
So they revised it to where we're going to pay a $10,000 membership kind of fee, and the payouts changed, so it's going to be first to 50th get paid, $100,000 for first place, then it falls all the way to $20,000 for second place, and but if you get 50th place, you get $5,500. So I think
That's a happy medium, I feel like.
so 20th through 50th is 5,500, and 11th through 15th is 7,000, something like that.
Okay. I mean, that's
Better than what it was.
better in my opinion. I mean,
Yeah.
it's better than $500 for 40th place.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, I mean that's good. You still got a little bit of pay to play in there, but I mean I think that's fair. I mean you're at the top level of the sport, but I mean I hope it evolves a little bit. I think they're doing some things that at least they're trying to get some angler input. It seems like with that what was the new angler board they released today or something like that?
Committee.
Yeah, Lee Livesey was looking like Adam Sandler in that photo today. It was pretty funny. It was a good bunch, but it seems like they're doing some good stuff. All right, let's get back through some comments. Fred Ashcraft, do you think John Cox and Keith Poche style can last through the year to hold up in the tournaments next year?
For sure, 100%.
The old center console. How about Cox in that center console out there? That's
I
pretty
wonder
sweet.
if he's actually going to use that on the elites.
I think I heard him talking about it a little bit on, I think it was Straycast last week or whenever he was talking about, I can't remember what podcast it was. I think it was Straycast. And he was talking about how he's going to do the center console for the MPFL and then do I want to say the fiberglass for the elites, but I'm not sure. I'm not super familiar with the Vex. I don't think he'd be running their aluminum because they don't have a big aluminum, do they?
Vexus?
Yeah, they do.
Nice.
Okay, so he might be running that one then. I don't know enough about him. Ian's right. Which elite tournament is Rob most excited for next year? Drew Higgins.
Probably St. Clair.
Old smallmouth Derbs.
Yeah, I mean, I love going up north to where the bass are dumb and there's just big, huge smallmouth.
So you've had some experience growing up around a really cool place with some big, huge smallmouth. When did you first start experiencing northern smallmouth? Like actually going up north? Like when was your first big water smallmouth trip?
2019 in college. The Bassmaster College Series had a tournament in 2019. I'll never forget it, on the St. Lawrence River. And it was an absolute whack fest. I didn't know, 20 pounds around here with smallmouth is a great bag. You know what I mean?
100%.
Like that is, people win tournaments every weekend with 20 pounds or 19 with smallmouth. And I'm like, okay, heck yeah. You know what I mean? And that's what I was catching. And that's what I should not have been on, because I got 80, first or fifth place with 40 pounds total for 2 days.
That's insane.
But that was my first experience.
That's wild.
But yeah,
it seems like it's evolved a little bit since then.
ever since then, I've been hooked. I mean, I was hooked then. I was catching the crap out of them. I guess I just wasn't on the right quality. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I figured it out the next trip I went up north. But it's just, I love fishing up north because, I mean, they don't get fished for all year like they do where we live. And they're just they're not as smart, and you can catch a lot more. And
Oh yeah.
they don't give you as much heartache.
That's for sure. These down here, they're few and far between down here. I feel like. I mean, even on our good smallmouth holes and stuff, I feel like it's still rewarding every time you catch a smallmouth around here, especially a lot of spotted bass fisheries and things like that, kind of taking over some places that used to be good smallmouth fisheries. So it's definitely interesting. But like, I mean, you can't beat going up north. Every time I've gone up to the St. Lawrence River, like it is an absolute blast every time. I mean, you can be throwing a chartreuse Senko out there and somehow you'll still get a bite and they go have fun. Like it doesn't matter. But those trips are cool. And that's what makes you better as an angler, right? Like smallmouth in Tennessee or Western North Carolina are a lot different than those St. Lawrence, but there's still a little bit of the same too at the same, like they're similar, but it's a different beast, right?
For sure. No doubt about it. They get triggered most likely the same, but the way they just live and their habitat is just different. You know what I mean? So you kind of have to fish differently for them.
Yep. That's a fact. All right, let's get into some more questions. What do we see? Do you ever have any success not using live scope, like sitting in the back and dragging? Kaz, throw that one at you.
Our biggest fish Saturday was actually caught by my partner Luke. He was literally sitting in the back of the boat, and I was trolling, looking for a fish on my forward-facing sonar, and I hear whack out of the back, and he just kept letting line out of his reel and had like a 150 feet cast out of the back and set the hook and reeled in our 4.5 pound spot. So
that's wild.
Yeah. So no, it definitely does work. And there's always where there's a will, there's a way. You know, I feel like that's a co-angler mentality thing that's, you know, nobody wants to fish behind a scoper these days, but I feel like it's, you know, a lot of co-anglers in tournaments now are just worried about what their boater's doing too much. Yeah. Whereas if they just, you know, sit in the back and drag a shaky head and fish to clean up, so to speak, you get a lot of bites.
Oh, 100%.
It's about the attitude too. Yeah.
No doubt.
And having the confidence. I know, what's his name? Nico? That was like crushed it in the co-anglers this year. I remember seeing him in the first open and he caught him, and then the second open and he caught him, and then he ended up winning like AOY. And the dude was like super consistent. And every tournament, I was like, dang, he caught him. Like you can catch him, like being in the back of the boat. It's just you have to have that mentality and that grind. And to be able to get AOY as a co-angler, I think is insane. Like you have the most variables, I feel like, dealing with different boaters. And like, what if you get a bad draw or a guy doesn't know what they're doing, or like, I mean, I've had that as a co-angler, and I'm sure you have too. Plenty of times. It's tough, but it's definitely a great way to learn. So if you guys want to sign up and be a co-angler in some tournaments, I highly recommend it. Like it is, you can put you in some bad situations sometimes. Sometimes you end up with a crazy boat driver. I know my buddy Ian ended up with a crazy one in the St. Lawrence River.
I need a link for the Central Division Toyotas. If y'all DM me, you can practice with me for a week, 3 tournaments. Yeah, shoot me a DM and we'll go. So, and
you won't, like, you're going to have a blast with Kaz in the boat. You're going to have a good time whether the fish are biting or not.
Yeah,
it'll be a good time. All right. Drew Higgins. Let's go to Drew Higgins real quick. So Rob said he's most excited for St. Clair. Kaz, what open are you most excited for?
It's kind of toss up between 2. Probably Sam Rayburn. It's a toss between that and Leech Lake, because I'm like Rob. I love going up north. It's a lot of fun. It's just different. And Minnesota is a cool state, but Sam Rayburn, we're going there in February.
I mean, they're
going to be fat, pre-spawn. I mean, you could literally catch your personal best on any.
You could have 5 of your personal best. That's your limit. I feel like
I'm just excited to go down there to Texas and chase some giant fish. It should be awesome. Fun. Yeah, I'm looking. Swing and try to catch one over 10 pounds would be pretty good.
You're going to need a couple of them.
No doubt about it.
All right. Did I miss anything? We're good. What would keep you from targeting shallow rock this time of year? Say the light and the wind. I don't know.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't know. Like I said earlier, the wind, is a big deal. If the more the wind blows, the shallower you're able to fish. It breaks up the light penetration, and fish are able to feed more and they get more active. They're not as spooky. If you go, to any lake around here, and there's no wind and the water's pretty clear and you're trolling around, you got your drafts running, you'll see fish darting and just swimming differently than you would. Whereas if there's wind, you can see a fish literally sitting on an individual piece of brush or a rock, and it varies day to day. That's not a set rule of thumb, but generally speaking, I'm more confident fishing shallower whenever the wind's blowing and it's cloudy. Your conditions are right to break it up a little bit. If
Fair
it's
enough.
sunny and slick, fish seem to bite a little bit deeper, a little bit better.
Does wind direction influence that any?
Oh, yeah, it influences it a ton because, wherever the wind's hitting the hardest is a lot of times where I catch the most fish. I'll always go to where it's a lot of people, and sometimes, every tournament, if it's a sight fishing tournament or a spawn tournament, or if the fish have been biting very good in slick, calm water, I'll stay in the slick, calm. One time, so like wind is always blowing whatever weather is coming in the future to a certain area. You got a consistent south wind. It's blowing warm weather, So if it's a spawn tournament, fish might pull up with that wind because the water's going to be warmer where the wind's blowing. Just always try to think about the weather that's coming in the future, and whatever the wind is blowing, it's going to influence the water temperature in that certain area, and think about it, how it could maximize your odds to catch more fish. But as a fact, I always try to go where the wind is blowing into, unless it's like a really cold wind this time of year. But cold winds are kind of warm winds out of the south or the west sometimes can really be really good. You get
What
a lot
about
of
out of the east?
fish bite the least, so they say.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah,
I'm asking.
yeah, I don't know. It just depends. You can get a lot of if the wind's blowing in somewhere out of the east in that direction, you kind of play it by ear. It depends on the current weather conditions and what weather's forecasted for the future. If it's supposed to drop a lot and it's during the spring and fish are wanting to push up to spawn, a cold wind out of the east is probably not going to be very good. But in the summertime, cold wind out of the east could be on fire. Go to where it's pounding in the hardest and you'll catch a lot of fish.
I like it.
Yeah.
Kevin, you like to fish shallow. What do you think about shallow rock this time of year? What if you're going out on Allatoona right now and you want to go fish some shallow rock? Like, what are you looking for?
I'm looking for probably a long point coming out with some rock on it. Nothing. I'm not going to fish a 45 degree. I'm going to fish something flatter.
Okay.
Because I think they're moving up this time of year, and you can find some rock veins that are coming off those points.
I like it. All right, let's see what we got. All right. Do you find success dropping on 2D this time of year? Rob G's a big 2D guy, right?
Mm-hmm. Ask Rob. No.
No.
I have not used 2D since 2018 on the front of my boat. I use 2D tremendously, though, when I'm running. I use 2D so much. Like, a lot of the good places I've found the past several years have been based on my in-hole transducer running. So that is a huge key component on my boat for 2D. But I do not drop on them with 2D anymore. I've got a live scope for that one that tells me all the information I need the same as 2D. But the 2D while you're running it's my friend.
Fair enough. That's pretty cool. I mean, that's something a lot of people don't think about, is being able to have a 3-hole transducer to be able to utilize that. That's something a lot of guys don't talk about, is like how valuable that is. I remember for a short period of time, mine wasn't working, and I felt so scared running around too. Not just for the fact of like looking for fish, but like running up on a shoal and stuff like that, knowing what your depth is, especially going to a new place I've never been to before. I know I was on Lake Fork and I had a couple fuses blow in my boat, And this was like when I first got the boat, hadn't got it rigged or anything, like didn't have a harness or anything good. I had no idea what was going on, and had to navigate Lake Fork 20 miles from the ramp with no graphs. Everything was just out, and I was scared. Like I pretty much idled back the last 5 miles because I was just like, it's getting dark. I'm idling this. Like I don't understand. I didn't even have real good mapping at the time anyway. I just had like one graph, but it was wild. All right, JPJ, let's talk about some Nico rigs. What do you like on a Nico rig, Cass? Cloudy days, low light.
Yeah, so cloudy day and low light. I like some morning dawn style colors on the Nico.
Really? On the Nico?
Yeah, pink and any shad pattern. I try to, on these lakes around here, Lanier, Hartwell, Chateau, things like that, the shad patterns tend to work better on like sunnier days and especially in like shallower water.
Okay.
And if I'm fishing deep, I try to stick with a morning dawn or a pink style worm on it.
You think that's just like with the light penetration and all that stuff?
Yeah, and you know, pink is kind of a in your face color, and deeper, like if you're fishing in the ditches that time of year, I think fish can just see it, and you know, spotted bass aren't really one to analyze something a whole lot before they eat it. So something deep that they can see that's kind of loud, I'll throw that pink whenever it's deeper. And you know, green pumpkin or a shad pattern.
So are you like a hit worm? You like a Senko?
I like the Magnum hit worm and a Senko or stick worm style bait.
Okay.
Magnum hit worm on the green pumpkin, and then on
The sexy shad Cinco is pretty cute.
gnarly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
that's some
pretty
juice
good
right there. I like it. Y'all ever fish Lake Russell? Any tips? If so, Coleman Jones. Thank you for watching.
I have not. Where's that at?
It's below Hartwell.
It's like close to Murray, isn't it? I think
It's
like,
literally below the Hartwell Dam.
Yeah.
I've been once, I think. It was pretty good. I've been in the fall, and when they're generating water out of the Hartwell Dam, you can run up the river there and catch a ton of fish. That was by far the best area of the lake, was up right below the Hartwell Dam whenever I was there, especially when they're pulling current. It was a lot of fun.
Awesome.
Sounds good.
Have you ever considered taking Drake fishing, Cass?
That's my dog. I've not really considered taking him fishing. I don't want to. He would be in the water the entire time. He's a big black lab. He'd be diving in.
He'd be in the water.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would be in the water for sure.
Scopers, not fishermen.
Oh yeah, Scotty Reed, throw it up there. Scopers, not fishermen. Yeah, these guys, they just don't cash checks. They don't catch fish. It's not like they caught any fish before the black box ever was invented. It's
I didn't.
Yeah, no, I didn't either. You know,
I still haven't.
Yep. All right. How big were those crappie G caught that he posted? Oh, Ken Pruitt.
They were
They're biggins.
They were definitely over 2 pounds even. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I would say they were 2.5 to 3 pounds. Like, I don't think they were 3-pounders, but I would say they were 250s. You know what I mean?
Like the fillets would take up a 12-inch skillet for sure.
Yeah, like I only kept 4 of them, 4 just big giant ones, and it fed me, my parents, my grandparents, and my 2 aunts. So it fed a lot of 4 crappie.
Yeah.
Fed,
Meat on the table, son.
Meat on the table, buddy. Exactly.
I like it. All right. Let's do a quick little plug for Fishers of Hope real quick. So Fishers of Hope, our friends over there, their mission is to glorify God and be servants of his word and to bring those who need peace and hope that only he can bring. So this ministry does a ton of benefit tournaments. If you guys want to go check them out, there's their contact info, Fishers of Hope Ministry at gmail.com in Blairsville, Georgia. They do really cool stuff, so definitely go check them out. Good people over there. And if y'all ever need anything, reach out to them and tell them Fish North Georgia sent you. We'll get back into the comments.
I have a question for him real quick.
Let's hear it.
What's his take on the leash?
Me?
Yes.
I think you should definitely have it on that. I put it on my boat before every year, or the past 2 years now. I've gotten new boats past 2 years. Before I even turn the key, I put one on because, I mean, as y'all saw with Wes Logan this past year, where I think he hit a submerged dock that had floated away, didn't have the proper flotation under it. He hit that. And I mean, there's just so much things that could go wrong while you're running 60 plus miles per hour in a bass boat. And if you hit something real hard like that, it's, I mean, you got to have.
Motor's been known to come up into the cockpit.
Yeah, you got to have the peace of mind that your motor won't end up
Should it be
knocking your
mandatory?
head off.
Yeah, I think it should be mandatory, and I think that's something that I guess I can't really talk about that, but there will be some things implemented in the future, I think, on that. I mean, that Wes Logan was obviously very scary for a lot of people, and thank goodness he's okay. But like, I mean, it's peace of mind, right? I mean, we all have families back home. We have people that care about us, and nobody wants to see anybody get hurt. So why not spend a little bit of extra money for that peace of mind? I know I need to get one on my boat. I personally don't have one, and so I need to get one for Christmas. Maybe Kaz will get me one for Christmas.
I mean, I will say, if you're fishing, like I'm not sponsored by the leash, but if I was fishing on like Norris Lake, for example, which is a big, deep highland reservoir up here in East Tennessee, I don't think I would really even need a leash. You know, I mean, you might
but
need.
Then we have big, deep lakes like Fontana that get super flooded and have.
That's what I'm saying. That's when you
never
need
know.
one. But I mean, that's the only reason not to. But on the elites, you got to have one because I mean, last year we fished 3 lakes that were the most treacherous, hazardous lakes I've ever even tried to run a bass boat. Like the first days I was there, it took me some like good while to even want to get up on pad because there were so many trees sticking out of the water. And I mean, with that leash, you just got a peace of mind that you actually, man, I got to make money and I have to send it to even go find places to catch a fish. So with that leash, it helps me do that.
So for you guys that don't know, the leash is a steel cable that goes around the back of your motor that basically ultimately, if you hit something at speed, it prevents your motor from coming up into the boat, hitting anything, dislodging. It just holds your motor on tight to the hull and making sure that your motor doesn't do anything crazy, flip up into the boat, do anything. And it literally saved Wes Logan's life this year. He hit a big dock up on Champlain after the wind blew, submerged dock. Jason Christie, we talked to that same day. He almost hit it. He dodged around it. And then our demo team actually found the dock with a big skid mark through it. Like it's a very scary thing and it could happen to any of us. So definitely something to check out. The leash is not a sponsor with Fish North Georgia. Maybe one day it will be. But I definitely think it's something we highly recommend to consider in the future. All right, let's rock and roll into the comments. Kaz, I'm 75. Never caught a Smoky Mountain. No, I'm just kidding. Never caught a smallmouth. Will you put me on one?
Absolutely. Just give me a call. 828-644-4392 is my guide service number. That's my cell phone number. Or shoot me a DM and we'll line up a trip to go reel you in one. I'd love to see you reel one in. Put you on a big one.
You need to. Kaz knows those holes, and I think G knows those holes as well. Rob, you ever throw a fish head?
Is that, I mean, fish head spin, I guess.
Fish head spin, I would assume. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. We don't have herring lakes in Tennessee, so I have probably 5 or 6 to my name. But to be honest, man, the only time I've tied one on in this whole year was when I went to Lanier, and other than that, I don't ever throw it.
Now, do you have more than 4 Sakamata shads in your boat?
Yes.
Okay. Just a question. Just a question. Y'all are doing pretty good without Danny. Yeah. Thanks. We appreciate it. How bad will Tennessee beat Ohio State?
Man, I'm a realistic Tennessee fan, so I'm not going to sit here and tell y'all that we're going to blow them away. But I have gained some confidence this week with how bad that their athletic department put out a statement today that they were talking about Ohio State fans, quit selling your tickets to Tennessee fans. There's too many Tennessee fans getting tickets. And I mean, I've seen tweets and all these things that us Tennessee fans are trying to orange out or checker the shoe up there in Columbus. And I'll be there. I'm going to the game up there in Ohio. I'm gonna freeze, but I have a sneaky feeling. I mean, we definitely could lose. I'm not a betting man, so I'm not going to bet on us, But I have a feeling that we're going to win 28-17. I feel like that's a good score.
I like it.
31-27.
Playing Oregon in round 2.
31-27. Who?
Tennessee.
Anybody else have some football scores? Because I don't know anything about football, so I'm sorry.
No, I'm the same.
I have another question for Rob.
Let's hear it.
Yeah.
How many pounds of tackle do you think you're carrying in the front of your boat? Just tackle.
A lot. I mean, I would say try to add it up. I'd say 100, 60 to 100. I feel like.
What do you
maybe
most
more.
of that? Is it like a 60-40 split between like hard baits and terminal versus soft plastics, or what do you think?
It might be. I actually like. I'm not very good with judging weights like that kind of stuff. It might be a lot more because, I mean, every single weight. I don't know how much my terminal box that has my Texas rig and Carolina rig sinkers weigh, but I mean those could easily be like 10 pounds. You know what I mean?
And then salty minnows aren't light either.
No, exactly. I mean, shoot, it could be 200 pounds for all I know. But I know whenever I put a bunch of stuff in it, if I'm fishing a big tournament, you can definitely tell the difference between when I'm just fishing around the house and not having a lot of stuff in the boat. Like I lose probably 2 or 3 miles per hour.
Gotcha.
On speed.
How about you, Cass? How much weight you think you got in your boat? Especially guiding, like doing guide trips. Do you keep a little bit in your boat for a guide trip and more in it for a tournament?
In the summer, whenever I'm guiding a lot, it's kind of a bare minimum of what I need. I keep my top waters, my swim baits, some hooks, and a bunch of bags of flukes and some line.
So you got a grocery bag in the boat versus
practically. I mean, I could get by with it, but I'm a pretty heavy packer too, and that's one thing I've just got my Phoenix and love this boat. But I got it back in March, but I missed the storage that my Triton had sometimes because I could just fill it to the brim with everything. And I'm the type of guy that, I've got a wall that I keep stuff on, but I'm bad to where if I get 6 or 7 packs of a certain bait that I think I'm going to use some, I'll put every one of them in the
7.
boat. Yeah. So it just helps. I'd rather have it and not need it as need it not have it. I carry 100%. A lot of stuff too.
I carry 90% of the tackle I own in my boat.
And I forgot to even add into the equation all the rods I carry in the front of my boat. I mean, I probably carry 30 to 35 rods maybe. Like,
how many rods do you fish with on the deck typically? 10 to 15, 20?
It just depends. If it's like a largemouth lake, like let's think, for example, this past year. Like
walk us through give us a couple of your elite tournaments this year.
Florida, Harris Chain or St. John's or maybe not Murray, but Wheeler, like junk fishing places like a Wheeler, I'll have as many as it'll fit from the sidewall to the rod strap. So I think that's about 6 or 7. So 14. I'll have 14 on the deck, and sometimes I put 2 or 3 back there by the Marshall.
Yeah.
But most of the time I only use about 5 and have all them other ones just for show. But
I feel. Have you ever tied on stuff at the blast off to try to get in anyone else's head, or have you only just had on what you're actually going to throw? Or have you not put a soft plastic on a drop shot or on a hook because you didn't want someone else to see what you're throwing?
That's the only thing I've really ever done is not baited my hook. You know what I mean? Like if it's a drop shot or if it's a Carolina rig or Texas rig, I'll just have it laid.
Is that for the fish or for the competition?
It's just for the competition. Honestly, it's people looking walking down the boat dock and looking and seeing what actual bait you have tied on. Like, it's
Do
fine.
you put rods away before you weigh in so people don't see it at weigh in?
I usually forget about that, but I always take off my baits. Like, I'll just like rip them off. Like, even if it's a brand new bait that I just threaded on or just put on a hook, I'll just rip it off.
Competitive advantage. I like it.
You throw a Carolina rig a lot?
I wouldn't say really much anymore, but I mean, it's usually a big player at a couple tournaments a year. I have tied on the deck, especially Florida, like St. John's and Harris Chain this past year, and this coming year at St. John's. There's a lot of shell beds, and I feel like it's a good bait for the Florida strain, largemouth that live in Florida is the Carolina rig. They love it. So, I mean, I always have it tied on in Florida, but really anywhere else, I don't. I mean, St. Lawrence River, I'll have it tied on to just certain little areas, you know, where I feel like it fits. But
so if you're going to go throw it in Florida, are you going to have 3 of them rigged up? Are you going to have 1 of them rigged up too? Like how do you, like, if you know you're going to go throw it, how many do you have rigged up?
If I know I'm going to go, like, for instance, if I'm on Harris Chain and I've got a shell bed that I'm going to camp on all day, I'll have 3 rigged up probably.
And are they all on the deck or is one in the locker?
Probably 2 on the deck and 1 in the locker. Like, in case I break one off, and instead of getting mad and having to sit down and retie, just pull that one out and rig it up and go.
I like it. Eddie Hudson. Besides Gatewood, what ramps and docks can still be used this time of year on tuna? That is your question, sir, Mr. Kevin.
Besides Gateway, I got to read it. God, what's the one off of 41?
I don't know tuna.
No. Oh gosh, dog, mine's going blank.
Kellogg?
No, Kellogg you can't reach right now. You might be able to get in at Gulch right now because the lake's up. It's up. It was down 10 feet. It's only down 7 feet now, so you can probably still get in at Gulch. God dang, what's the one over there off of 41? Near 41.
I have no idea.
It'll come to me. That's the only 2 that I know of.
Yeah, I have no clue.
No
Victoria is completely out of the water. Little River's out of the water.
If anybody knows in the comments, let us know.
They're saying Blockhouse.
Blockhouse, that's it.
Okay. Nice. All right, go to the other Eddie. Eddie Krauth. That's my boy. Me and Eddie fished in Durban on Saturday. What is your favorite fish and technique to fish for? Example, throwing poppers at tuna or trout on a dry fly. Like, favorite fish to fish for, and what do you like? How do you like to target them?
That's a pretty sweet question.
Take it first.
If I had to have one, literally, if I knew I could go and just catch them every cast, it would be, as crazy as it sounds, largemouth bass on a topwater frog. You're setting the hook as hard as possible. If I had to go and catch a fish every cast in the day and had to choose anything, it'd be largemouth on a frog. I've done some cool saltwater fishing, but there's nothing like watching a big bass eat a frog. Gets me fired up.
I agree. I don't know. I'm going to have to break it down. My favorite thing is to catch is bass, but I like to catch all 3 almost as equal, like whenever they're biting good. But largemouth, I love to catch them on like a 10XD. That's if I could catch them every day or every cast, like Kaz was saying.
It's such a fun bite, dude. When you can get them fired up and you can just bomb that plug out there.
Throw it a mile and just get it down there cranking and it just stops. I mean, that's the best feeling. And then, obviously, I don't get to do it much, but a spotted bass on a spook. I mean,
oh, God.
The way they hit that thing is unbelievable. It looks like a German.
Especially when they don't get it the first time and they're just.
Like, I've seen some like 3.5, 4.5 pound spots look like German Shepherd jumping in the lake off the dock.
Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty awesome. But I love catching smallmouth on a jighead minnow too. Don't hate, but it's amazing.
Enough. Hey, it catches them. Kevin, what's your favorite?
I'm gonna go old school. I'm gonna go back with a spoon on Kissimmee grass.
A spoon on Kissimmee grass.
Yeah.
All right, you got to dig a little
All right,
deeper.
what are you talking about? I need to know this.
Do you remember the old silver spoon, Johnson silver spoons?
Like the bent one, like
the one with the weed guard.
Yeah.
like the hook on the back.
You remember
of
the old
spoon.
weed wing model? Had a little prop in front of the spoon. I used to wade fish in Lake Toho with the gators. Didn't know any better, but that was the best fishing I can ever remember.
That's awesome.
Fishing.
That is awesome.
Like, what do you
got
do
it
with
all,
it?
mate.
You throw it out across the grass and just drag it through it. It's damn near 90% weedless. It just comes through everything.
That's wild.
That's
How do they
great.
bite it?
The
Do they
Johnson-
load up on it? You
Yeah,
set
they
the
load
hook?
up on it.
Okay.
They pull it down.
Oh,
and
it's
you
kind of like a chatterbait. It's like a
sort of
Similar?
like that, but you know, the old Johnson silver spoon was real big in Okeechobee at one time across their grass. Pepper grass, eelgrass, Kissimmee grass. You can throw it in there and it just comes right through it.
Did you lose a lot of fish on that?
No,
No.
we were throwing 20-pound mono back then because that's all we had.
Mm-hmm.
Clint still uses that.
I'm still using that. I'm using 15. I just bought me
That's-
another spool of old Berkeley big game today.
There's
son.
nothing better than big game.
Oh yeah. So me and Kaz had a 1-hour conversation talking about throwing mono on a jig, and I put on co-poly for the tournament Saturday, and I dumped a bunch of fish like an idiot because all of a sudden I was like, hang on, let me change up what's been working, and then I put on co-poly and I dumped 3-4 pounders on Saturday.
Yeah, I got 5 over 10 out of Lake Toho on that.
That's
That's
insane.
awesome.
Wow.
That's awesome. All right, let's go back to Eddie down there. Or
We're
hang
up
on,
here.
JPJ. We missed him up there. When do you mix in the paddle tail over the straight tail minnows? Because I feel like the straight tail's kind of been a little bit forgotten about a little bit with the minnow craze. Like when do you picking one over the other?
Are you talking about a paddle tail swim bait versus a minnow?
Yeah.
Basically, whenever it's kind of like right after the spawn, usually as I go to that like Kitech, that's when I usually like to go fish for smallmouth and throw it out on a point and just crawl it over this point. Like, I mean, count the rocks with the swim bait. But I mean, lately, I have not been using just a paddle tail unless I'm throwing an Alabama rig or a chatterbait or a spinner bait. Like that's my trailer. I mean, I'd rather impart my own action with my rod with a minnow, like some sort of minnow. Like I have all kinds of different ones, and I feel like I can get the same sort of action out of them as a paddle tail would. But so, and also the other reason I would use a paddle tail over is if I'm in current, because like if I'm in strong current and I can't impart the action I need because the way my line is going through the water on a long cast, and I can't even like impart the action I want, I'll just use a regular swim bait. Like, for example, below a dam in the tail race where the current's real strong, I'll never throw a straight tail minnow. It'll always be a paddle tail.
I like it. Let's go ahead and it is time for the Serve IT question of the week. Serve IT, Alan Brooks and the guys over there, they have an awesome IT company over there. He's looking for people to start, go over there and work for him. So if you're interested in being in this field, he's looking for some people that are willing to learn and be over there. He wants some guys that are outdoorsmen getting over there. So definitely go check him out over there. Hit him up over there at Serve IT. Kevin?
All right, this is a long question, and I'll read it twice. Danny couldn't be here tonight as he had a previous engagement to attend. What was the event and who with? I need what the event was and the name of the person or persons who are attending. However, Danny later posted this afternoon on Facebook about his daughter's birthday dinner, so that won't be tonight's question. Instead, Danny called her Dr. Pruitt in the post that he made. What is her degree in?
So was the first part not even the question?
Nope. I had the
The
question.
question is, what's Danny's daughter's degree in?
I had the question, approved it by Danny, and then he turned around and made the post. And when I called him about it, he said it was my bad. So the question is, Danny called her Dr. Pruitt in his post tonight. What is her
Who's got the
degree
answer?
in?
I got the answer.
Okay.
He's got it.
All right. So keep an eye out.
Anybody?
All right. Any takers? All right. We'll go to the next question. Come on. Yeah, that's a good one. Let's roll with Eddie Krauth. Where did the belly pack come from?
So I didn't even. That was kind of one of them things that I didn't even ever think about doing that. Like, I didn't try to be cool by doing that. It just kind of happened naturally. I guess every time I catch a good one, when I have a camera in the boat, I turn it to the camera and like pat it on the belly. And
I mean, you're
By
catching some
some
thick
point-
ones when that was happening too.
yeah,
You're
like,
catching
I
some
mean,
absolute belly patters.
they were showing me that, like, some of the bass staff showed me, like at Smith Lake when I was on live, that I was doing it and nobody had caught on yet. You know what I mean? I was just doing that.
Yeah.
Like, look at this fatty. Like, you know what I'm saying? And because the reason it really kind of started is at Smith Lake in Champlain. Those lakes it was just separated by ounces. So every time I would catch one that had a gut on it, it would be like a really big, like a bonus for me. Like, I would get super excited because I was like, okay, that one's going to weigh more than that other one in there, and they're the same size, but it just has a gut. So it's got a belly. So it's going to coal. So I would, smack it on the belly like, hey, this is the one I need. Look at its gut. That's kind of where it came from. And by like day 3 or 4, somebody in the studio told my cameraman, like, I caught one and I guess I didn't do it. And the cameraman was like, hey, are you not going to pat its belly? So I was like, well, yeah, I guess I will. And so he kept making me like, hey, are you going to pat that one's belly? And I was like, oh, shoot, yeah, I'm going to pat its belly. And that's kind of where it came from.
I like it. All right. Well, so when's the apparel coming out? Belly patter.
So soon, I'm getting a guy to make some apparel right now. I've got a logo. I guess I can go ahead and show y'all.
Oh
Yes.
gosh, exclusive Fish North Georgia exclusive belly patter logo.
All right,
Max,
but y'all
you are close.
y'all have to buy some of this. All right. If I
Oh.
show y'all.
I'll be your first customer, and Kaz will be number 2.
Dude.
No, I'll get me one. We
All
better
right,
get
this is gonna be on the back.
Better be buy one get 7 free.
Yeah.
Hang up, put it in front of your face.
We
Put it in
can't
front of
see
your
it.
face. Your Tennessee background's throw. Oh, okay. Oh,
Nice.
that's pretty
see it?
legit. I like it.
Cool.
That's
It's
a good
le-
belly patter right there
Got
too.
leaked.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's legit
Man.
right there.
Here's a sneak peek on the hats I'm gonna come out with.
Pete. Oh, sneak Pete. Oh,
Wow.
I like it. I like it.
Good hat.
That's
So
awesome.
Stay tuned. Those will be dropping here soon.
Yeah.
Hopefully
Golly.
sometime in January.
What are you talking about?
They're these majors.
Oh, science.
Science.
It's not science, I don't think. I don't even have the answer. Do you?
I do.
You have
Max,
the answer?
Max
Okay.
was close.
Okay.
Do you believe in science?
Science. All right,
I only
scroll up.
believe
Let's see if I missed any questions.
We did.
Hey,
now that I saw that
What's
hat.
Danny's daughter's name?
What?
What's Danny's daughter's
one?
name?
Taylor? The
The
one that
that's
had the birthday?
yeah.
Yeah, her birthday's tonight. Taylor. Happy birthday, Taylor, by the way.
Happy birthday, from the
birthday.
Fish North Georgia family. Rob, how does it feel to be called Miwa? I mean, he's leaning into it obviously now with the logo action, so
That's fine. I mean, it's fine.
it's fine. That's a good
At
answer.
first, I didn't like it, but then people called me names and tried to be mean with it, so I'm gonna lean into it.
Yep. I hear you. All right.
That's a good one.
Yes, Rob and Kaz, will you guys be videoing your tournaments this year?
100%. I actually big
Got
news.
some more breaking news.
Breaking news. I've hired a cameraman that's going to follow me all year this coming year on the elites, because kind of where I guess our life in general is going is everybody likes to or like kind of what a professional angler needs to be is kind of an influencer and a vlogger, kind of along with a professional fisherman. So I feel like that's a good business decision for me to do, and I like being in front of a camera. I guess, and people like, I guess, making fun of me
People
or
like
watching
me on camera. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that's exciting. Kaz, what about you?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to film every single one of them, and I'm just kind of starting up my YouTube deal a little bit, and uploaded a few videos this past week, and trying to make it not just tournaments, just a little bit of everything. So
yeah. So what do you got? What do you got in the hopper? Like, what's some of the goals with making content? Like, I mean, it's a crazy industry now. You got everybody making YouTube videos. Like, what do you think will be something that the viewers that are watching this on YouTube, what will make them go watch one of your videos on YouTube?
Yeah, it's just, I'm going to try to be as relatable as I can. And, you can look at 1,000 tournament videos on YouTube, and, people like us love to watch that stuff because we genuinely love bass fishing and
100%.
love tournament bass fishing. But, it's not relatable to everybody to go out and spend a ton of money on an entry fee and a ton of money on a super nice bass boat. And, that's not relatable a lot of the times. But my main goal, if I can grow the sport of fishing, get kids into it, we're going to do some, I'd like to go fish a pond. I like deer hunting. We'll do a little bit of everything, tackle tips, try to make it, to where everybody can get a little something out of it. My goal is to be diverse, and, I'm blessed to live a pretty cool lifestyle, and got a lot of stuff that's coming up that's going to be pretty cool next year. So my goal is to take everybody with, and hopefully everybody loves the outdoors a little bit more and gets outside because of it. That's the goal.
Awesome. And if you change one person's outlook, if you help one person catch a fish, it's totally worth it.
Totally worth it. Absolutely.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, we close anywhere in any of these comments yet?
Max Wilson's got it.
Max Wilson. All right.
Right down here. Yeah.
Max Wilson. Well, we have some awesome baits from Arc right here, rocking and rolling for you. You're going to be fishing that shallow rock. You got a lipless and you got a square bill action. So we'll get that out to you. We'll talk to Danny once he's done. And
send Danny a message with your contact info, and he'll get them out to you.
Yeah. Send Danny your info on Facebook at Danny Pruitt, and get on it. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for everybody that was attempting to figure out the question of the week. I'm always one of those guys too. All right. Terry Thornton.
That's the wife.
That's the wife. Watching from Orlando. What's she doing down in Orlando?
She's down there with my mom and her mom.
Awesome.
Yeah.
She catching some fish?
No, she's never been fishing with me. Now I pulled her behind on a raft.
How'd you manage that?
Floating while I'm fishing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds like a good time.
She's not a fisherwoman.
That's all right. Nothing wrong with that. All right. What else? Cass, are you rooming with Joe next year?
Inside joke, but yeah, I'm rooming with Joe for sure.
I like it. Let's see what else we got. Kaz loves kayak fishing.
I had a rough experience in a kayak one time. Almost sunk. So tournament on Lake Chattooga. I was in college. Kayak fishing in college was just becoming a new thing. So I borrowed a kayak, and it was a 10-foot smaller kayak. It wasn't no Mac Daddy Hobie or nothing like that. But out of a kayak, apparently, in a normal boat, you put the plug in to avoid sinking. Well, I left there's a thing called a scupper plug in the floor of a kayak, and you take it in and out. Well, you take it out to allow more buoyancy, apparently, because the kayak floats naturally. Well, it's in the floor. Well, I left the scupper plug in. Well, about midday on Chattooga, it came a monsoon, summertime pop up, and it blew me so hard, and I didn't have a trolling motor on it, obviously. I blew into this lay-down tree, and I'm like sitting here spider webs all over me. Like, you can't make it up. And I'm sinking, like legitimately sinking. Like, the water's filling up, and I've got my coffee cup, a little Yeti coffee cup, small one, and I'm bailing water out of it, like, to avoid sinking. Like, my tackle boxes and bait packages are like floating off into the lake, and I'm like bailing it out. Well, the storm breaks, end up winning the tournament. And it was like the most crazy day. But I got out and I swore I'd never sit back in a kayak again, and I haven't. So
I fished out of
my word.
I fished out of a kayak in college for like 3 or 4 years, and this is the first time I figured out that scupper plug you're supposed to take out, because I took on water a lot.
Yeah,
I never realized that.
Are you serious?
Like, let's hear from the kayak guy. How dumb is that? How early on did you learn that?
I mean, I knew right away. You know.
I never asked.
But I leave my scupper plugs in because I like to stay dry, and if I start taking on water, I'll pop them out.
Yeah.
No,
It just got me silent right now because I just feel so stupid for that.
I mean, I don't feel stupid. I just never
wild.
knew. I'm sitting there literally.
I mean, you think about a plug in a boat. It's like so I had like 4 holes in my new canoe, and they were all plugged all the time.
I called my dad. I was like, "Captain's going down with the ship, I guess." I'm like hanging onto this tree. Thought it'd go into the bottom.
So that makes a lot of sense of why you love kayak fishing. I like it.
Yeah, it sucks.
Carson Fowler. Let's hit that one.
That'd be a negative. I've only been, the whole thing about this is I've only been maybe 6 or 8 times where I've done my thing off the back of the boat. But no, she's never been with me.
The old strip shit. He takes it all off.
Now, she'll tell you when I do go at the house, the clothes come off.
Okay.
No way.
Next
yeah.
question.
Porcelain throne, you're stripping her down?
Yeah.
You just get hot?
No, it's just, I don't
It's
know.
just
It's
a
just
state
a
of
thing I
mind.
do.
Isn't
Just a
it?
state of mind. Just ease on into it. Have you had the gas station bathroom?
He's meditating.
Never.
Okay. You're one of those guys that can hold it for like 17 hours, aren't you?
Let me back that up. I have used the truck stop twice, 3 times that I can recall. And I did not take my clothes all the way off in the truck stop. Because you know why.
Yeah.
Without that being said.
Yeah,
I
that'd
don't
be kind of
blame you.
weird.
Yeah.
All
Hey,
right.
there's a guy back there.
That's an awesome segment. And that's enough of that segment. Let's
Yes.
keep on rocking.
Let's move
and
on.
rolling.
Move on.
What was my mind blown. What was the most memorable childhood tournament or fishing memory for Kaz and Rob? That's a great one.
Mm-hmm.
And that's coming from old Pops himself.
That was my dad.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, I guess I'll lead that one off. It was probably fishing with Dad for sure, but I won't ever forget. Like, I didn't grow. I mean, he always took me like fishing whenever I was really, really young, but I wasn't ever crazy about it until I was probably 7 or 8 years old. And I remember one day we had a small Skeeter bass boat, really tiny one. We went after school one day, picked me and my brother up, and that was the first time I had been with him before, but it never really clicked. And going one day, and we were dragging a Texas rig Zoom trick worm down the bank. We literally threw like 4 or 5 baits year round. Bed fishing was a little different, but we threw a big 3-hook spook, a Lucky Craft Stacy 90 jerkbait, a Texas rig trick worm, and a fluke. And if they didn't bite that, then we weren't catching nothing.
Yeah.
So, but we were dragging that worm down the bank, and I'll never forget, I caught 2 or 3 by myself that day.
That's
and
awesome.
it just like, I love this.
You're hooked.
I love it. And I wanted to go every time from then on out. It was just
Yeah.
like that one time where you actually get that feeling. And like, I didn't even know I had a bite. Like, I set the hook. You can ask my dad. I set the hook on every log.
I still do that to this day.
I mean, like, hook sets are free. I took that to the bank, you know.
I still do.
But that was I literally if I can ever remember a turning point where I love this, that was it. I was just a day after school on the lake, fished till dark. I remember catching 2 or 3 on a worm and 1 on a fluke, and was like, man, this is sweet. And my grandparents would keep me during the day.
Mm-hmm.
And from then on, if I went, my dad's parents have a creek in the backyard, and my mom's parents have a pond in the backyard, and both times they would be all about it, just helping me go fish every time.
That's awesome.
So yeah.
That's awesome. Rob, what about you?
So I have a couple. I mean, just those memories that stick with you forever. I mean, the first one. I mean, I was probably 8 in this scenario. I wasn't even, so to speak, fishing in this, but the first time I ever saw just a giant largemouth that got me hooked on just the species of bass. I was like 7 or 8 years old, up in the mountains of North Carolina with my granddad and my dad and one of our friends. We had set out a bunch of jugs. We were jug fishing for catfish, We were putting live bluegill on there and letting them swim around and get ate during the night, and we'd go check them in the morning. I don't know if that is legal anymore, but it was back then. I'm going to say that.
Cover it, yeah. Trade it.
But that next morning we went out there and we found one, we put them all in one creek, and we found one way out on the main lake channel, like way far, from where we dropped it. We found this thing and it was just skiing across the water, and we're like, oh, we have a big catfish. And we finally got a hold of it, grabbed it, and no lie, we caught a 9-pounder, big, huge, giant largemouth on a jug. And I just remember holding it like a dang teddy bear, double arms like this. This is the biggest creature, because when we grabbed the jug, it started jumping and tail walking, and I was like, that is the coolest thing I've ever seen any sort of fish do. I'm hooked. I want to fish for these only. I only want to catch them and watch them jump. So I was hooked from then on bass, catching that one fish on a jug. And another day, it was about a year later, me and my granddad were catching crappie and brim out of treetops, brush he'd sank. And I was reeling in this big, a good sized brim, one you'd eat. And I mean, this big old, we didn't weigh it, this one, but it was a 7 or 8 pounder, a huge one. Came up and just tomahawked this brim right before I picked it up out of the water. Just kaboomed on it. And I had a Zebco 33 and I was just holding on for dear life. And somehow this brim, with the way it's gills and how the dorsal fin and everything is so hard, it got caught in its mouth. And I was able to wear it down and get it in, and my grandpa netted it. And those 2 fish got me hooked on bass forever, just the way they fought and the way they jumped. And I mean, fortunately enough, in North Carolina, where I grew up fishing, you could have a boat and you could go fishing by yourself if it was a 10 horsepower or lower, on any boat. So I got a little John boat. My granddad and my dad got me one, a little, just one you'd buy I think they bought it at Gander Mountain over here in Knoxville for Christmas for me when I was 10. And they got a little 8 horsepower Yamaha on it, and with a little handheld troll motor. And that's where I started bass fishing when I was 10, out on Nantahala Lake, where I grew up with my grandparents. And I just remember going out there, and all I had was a little, my Topwater was a torpedo, those a little this, a black torpedo,
Oh, yeah.
black torpedo, a fluke. I was the fluke man, and just a Texas rig worm. And I mean, I just remember catching so many bass on a fluke, twitching it and watching them come up and eat it, watching them eat it. And that's what got me hooked on bass fishing. I can remember vividly some eats in that John boat where I was just out there by myself, just going down the bank, casting, just trying to figure out where to go and what to do, and putting the pieces together in my mind. Okay, so bass live here. This is where big largemouth live. It came up off that lay down beside that dock, and it came up and demolished that fluke. That is some vivid memories I have in my head forever.
That's awesome. Kevin, what about you? What's a good childhood memory? That was only 20 years ago.
Yeah, right. My dad used to take us out to a couple of lakes, ponds, I should say, before Walt Disney World was being built. this gentleman had 2 little ponds. One of them was covered probably 20 yards out from the shore all the way around with lily pads. And this guy would not let us take a John boat in there. And for years, Dad would ask him. He finally said, okay, you can take a John boat. Well, as most of the people that know me know, I'm real anal about keeping things clean and neat and straight. Well, we got out there and it was real windy. And my dad said, throw the anchor over. So I started unwinding the cord off the anchor, an old mushroom anchor. He said, throw it over because it was blowing the boat pretty hard. Yeah. I said, well, let me finish unwinding it. He said, throw the damn anchor over. So I did, and I forgot to tie it on. So we rode back to shore and went home.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's got you hooked for sure. That's one of the hold the flashlight stories, I feel like.
Yeah.
Hold the damn flashlight. What about Purrs? You got any childhood fishing memories?
Yeah. So the first bass I ever caught was my uncle's crappie pond, and he hooked a bass, and he's got it right next to the boat, and he's like, "Oh, look, it's a bass!" And right as he said that, another bass swam up, and I just dropped it right down to him, and we both caught him. We caught both of them. It was awesome.
So how has that changed you into fishing these days? I mean,
oh man, that was
like was that it? Was it over at that point?
So I really didn't fish a lot, man. After that, I didn't catch another bass until about 5 years ago.
Really? Yeah. What got you back into it?
Buying a kayak.
What made you buy a kayak? TikTok?
My wife.
Okay, fair enough. That's awesome.
We went. It was like right in the middle of COVID, and we went and bought 2 kayaks, and it was the only 2 they had. And after we floated Lanier a couple times drinking, I noticed it had some fishing rod holders on it, so I went and bought some.
And now you're hooked.
Yeah, and now, history. Now look at me.
Look at you.
I hope she's not
running
watching.
The boards on a fishing podcast. That's pretty cool, dude. That's awesome. All right, let's get back into some more questions. Guy B, do you ever throw any straight braid anymore, boys?
Oh, for sure. I'm a straight braid man on a lot of top waters, frog especially, and my punching rigs, or if I'm flipping heavy cover and like vegetation, I would say heavy vegetation, I go straight braid. And when I'm fishing around heavy grass, that's when I typically go straight braid. Like even if I'm reeling a worm or dragging a worm or throwing a swim bait even, or a chatterbait. I've thrown a chatterbait on a straight braid, like lighter straight braid. But when I'm in Florida typically, or like Gunnersville or somewhere like that where the grass is real thick and they can get you in it and you got to yank them out real good, that's when I go to straight braid.
I like it. Cass, what about you?
I'm pretty much the same explanation. Just if I'm around a lot of heavy grass and some top waters, from time to time, it's definitely a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Straight braid, you ain't got to worry about your line breaking. Just rear back and let them have it.
Yeah,
it's a lot of fun.
Typically, like around the house, the only straight braid I use is on a frog or like a horny toad or, something like that, where I have to set the hook real hard. Swim jig.
Yeah, I like it. All right, Eddie, go for that one. Why not? In the elites, it seems like it's only a matter of time till the non-scopers are relegated. What are your thoughts? Do you think the non-scopers are still going to be all right holding up, or do you think it's like fading out, or like what's the game? Because I mean, it seems like this year a lot of guys that have leaned into it and used it for years and actually took the time to learn it are on top, and the guys that were slow to adopt have kind of fell down in the ranks. Like, do you think that's going to evolve and keep going the same trajectory that it's been, or do you think there's going to be any evening out with any of the regulations coming in, or what do you think?
I wouldn't say they're going to be like relegated or whatnot. I just feel like they're going to have to use it whenever the time and place is needed for it. You know what I mean? Like the way there's a lot more people fishing nowadays. So the bass are more spread out and they're not doing what they used to do as much. So it's really the sport of fishing as we know it and how fish are reacting now is totally different. And I feel like using live scope helps you keep up with what they're doing. Like I don't think you can go flip anymore on some lakes and be as successful as you once could. Just the way they've reacted to fishing pressure and whatnot. So I just feel like as long as you're adapting with the changes in the fish behavior, you'll always be up there if you're a good angler.
And I feel like that's been the case the whole time. It's like if you're adapting and changing and growing with the sport, those are the guys that are on top. I mean, the rookie class got a lot of flack this past year, but look at 10, 20 years ago, the guys that were getting flack for trying to learn how to do something. Like, you weren't allowed to ask questions. You weren't allowed to try to like be better back then. You just had to learn and do something a little bit different that grew and adapted and trying new things. Like, I feel like it's definitely been a growing tradition to always be innovating, because you're always looking for that edge as an angler, I feel like, at the end of the day.
For sure. And I feel like Kaz would agree with me on this. It's kind of like our age generation of anglers, we kind of get put in a different sort of light, because the fact is we've been lucky and fortunate enough to have grown up with this technology, and we're willing and wanting to use it. And the fishing has been on the I wouldn't say decline. It's been on that change of they're reacting different, and the fish just act different completely than what they used to. And that's all we've known in our, I don't know, 15 years of fishing. You know, our memory bank is only 15 years, and that's how the bass have always acted to us. Whereas back, if I were fishing in 1990, when you could flip in there and miss one with your beaver and flip it back in there and without a hook and catch one. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. It's just kind of different. And we've always are used to, like, we went all over the country, me and Kaz. I fished against him in college. We fished for heavily pressured bass. So that's what we kind of always look for and are prepared for, is pressured bass. That's kind of how we fish.
Yeah, you're not expecting like just a lights out tournament everywhere you go a lot of the times anymore, and mentally preparing yourself that, you know, it might be pretty tough and you got a few tricks up your sleeve to catch them. It doesn't always work, but like he said, we definitely get put in a light, you know, of like, you know, we just live scoping like, yeah, if there's fish to be caught doing it, you know, it's a lot of the times it's the way to win tournaments, and everybody knows that you've got to do what you got to do to win tournaments. But, you know, like we said, 15 years of memory bank. I mean, the first 10 to 11 years of mine, and I know probably Rob's too, was without live scope. So we got more time experience fishing without it than we do with it. And I mean, I'd say our age group has seen more change in fishing in just a short amount of time than people that have been doing it for 50 plus years, because 100%. Fishing pressure didn't change back then. It was literally all the same. And COVID, really, in my opinion, that's what changed a lot of this stuff. People were fishing like crazy. So much has changed since 2020, not just because of electronics, but because of, you know, fishing pressure on every lake across the country. It's incredible.
100%. And not just on a fishing standpoint, but like when you look at guys in our generation, I feel like we grew up as the kids that went outside and played, and we were out there fishing. We were doing this stuff. We weren't iPad kids, but then all of a sudden we got cell phones and all this stuff in our older years and started to evolve with technology. So I feel like we were very much in the middle, to where we kind of half and halved it, right? Like, we got the childhood of playing outside and not being on our phones and all that stuff, but we kind of, I don't know.
We still know what it means when somebody looks at you in the car and goes like this, roll the window down.
Yeah,
we
exactly.
still remember the VCR,
exactly.
you know?
Yeah. The VCRs, the DVDs, the Walkmans, listen to that.
My truck still got hand crank windows.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Someone looks at you and do like this.
Yeah.
So, Kevin, what do you think about that? Do you think that all these kids are just meddling scopers, or what do you think? Do you think that we've actually know how to fish outside of the live scope box?
No, I don't think they're meddling scopers. I think, as Kaz alluded to, they've been exposed to it a lot more than what my generation has, or even the generation before me, really. But they have a uniqueness in that they're not afraid to try new things or different things without regret. I'm not worried about trying something new, but in the back of my mind, I'm worried, am I going to screw this up? And am I have to go get it fixed or have somebody come out here and fix it for me?
Mm-hmm.
That bothers me. So there's sometimes there's some things I won't do. Like we were talking earlier about, the Lowrance unit versus the Garmin unit, and how easy it is to screw up. I just don't think. I think they're better equipped today than what we were back then.
Yeah.
There's more resources for them. Again, their technology, their adaptiveness into learning is far greater than what ours is. It just comes out quicker.
100%. I think that's fair. All right, what we got? Did I miss anything up top, or are we getting through most of? Oh, that's a good one. Dylan Akins, Kaz, have you heard about the 10-pounder on Chautauqua that eats a loaf of bread? Because I have.
It's up there by Marina Station, is it not?
Yeah.
I got in trouble one time, pulling up there on the dock, and I docked my boat to eat. This has been years ago, and I stood up on the dock and saw a bass literally sitting on the bank, probably waiting for a cheeseburger. And I grabbed a jig and flipped it up in the grass and pulled it off the ground under the water. Caught a 6-pounder standing off the dock. Went crazy. Got in trouble.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Best sweet tea from the store.
Probably Milo's.
I'd say Milo's plug all around, probably, right?
Milo's for sure.
No doubt.
If they care about
viewership.
Let's keep on going past that because that's false. We were keeping up with them before Scope, and let's not get into that controversy stuff. Is it still a skill? All right, Purse, read them before you post them up there. It is still a skill to scope, and it's no different than hunting technology changes the way we hunt now also. I mean,
absolutely.
Hunting technology, you got to you know where that deer is all the time with your being able to ping them, but it doesn't mean you're killing the biggest deer just because you got a deer camera that pings to your cell phone.
Yeah, I hunt too, and hunting and fishing, you can touch things and hunting to know that it's real. Yeah. Fishing, you don't always know. You can literally see the deer scrape from past history and tell and track him down. Doesn't mean you can always kill him, but you can't touch anything in fishing. It's strictly instincts. It's different. It's definitely a great argument as well.
I like it. Tom Erico, Merry Christmas. It is that Christmas season. It's the holiday season. Do something to make somebody smile today or tomorrow. It's pretty late today. But, do something nice for people. That's a big thing this holiday season. Give back. It's an important time of reflection. Think about what you did right this year. Think about what you did wrong this year. Thinking about whether it was breaking off fish or losing fish, or whether it was you didn't quite help that person out that needed the help, or you didn't pull over and stop. Whatever it is, this holiday season, do something to give back. It's that time of year, and we should do it every day.
Every day.
What are some different techniques that y'all are using on scope besides jigging a minnow?
I would have to say everything.
Yeah.
I would say everything. People have now put it into a category of just calling it scoping. You know what I mean? But, as a tournament angler like myself and like Kaz, he's fishing the opens, we're trying to be as most efficient as possible. So we're using live scope to, even if we're dragging a Carolina rig or a football jig, we are lining up our live scope with a high percentage cast. And that's what scoping is. But it's really just fishing in 2024 or 2025 now. It's a thing to use to – it's like on a roulette table, red or black. It's a percentage. So you want to have higher percentage casts, and that's all it is. So scoping with every bait.
It's just speeding up your efficiency.
Yeah, I will say I scope with every single bait I own.
I agree.
I
don't make a cast with a crankbait on Lake Lanier without lining up with the gnarliest piece of rock that I can see on the screen at the time, and making sure that I can hit it. And it's, even going down the bank with I'm always tracking my bait 100% of the time.
Yeah.
And you can learn a crazy amount by literally throwing a crankbait down the bank and watching it come back, and you'll see a fish charging it, and you can stall it out and you watch what that fish does to react, and you're like, maybe he'll bite this.
It's like maybe I should keep it going, speed it up, slow it down.
You just have to just in the time of day take every little piece of information that you can in, and that tool, whether I'm watching the fish eat the bait on the screen or not, I'm taking in something from every cast. I can see how a fish reacts or how it moves. It may not eat my bait all the time, but
you're learning every cast.
And I might not be casting at fish. Like,
no,
it's just there to help. You know what I mean?
I like it. Like if you're throwing a jerk bait or a crankbait, you're learning what is the depth, what is the actual sink rate of this bait. How, if I make 110-foot cast with a jerk bait, how deep is it getting versus if I make a 60-foot cast with a jerk bait? Like you can be the same bait and you're getting completely different reads on it. So it helps you read like your line diameter, all that stuff, looking at how your bait reacts. Like if I'm throwing a jig on 15-pound mono versus 15-pound fluoro, how does it sink different? How does it get up and around those rocks different? Like you're watching like everything. I mean, you're learning every single cast versus where you were relying on the feel. Now you're able to see. Like we just added an entire new sense to fishing. And I think that's why people have a problem with it, is because it feels like a foreign sense that's been added to the game they were so used to. What do you think about that, Kevin?
I think you're right. I'm sorry, but I'm reading some of this.
No,
stuff.
you're good. Yeah.
I'm about ready
There's
to
some
just
troll stuff.
Yeah.
Some
people have nothing better to do.
But yeah, I mean, any subsurface bait is a scoping bait pretty much now.
It is.
Scoping has been thrown into a category in the past few months of every time you make a cast, you're trying to catch an individual bass with a minnow or some type of bait. And then, people that actually do it and are experienced with it know that's just simply not true.
No, it's not. It's not how it is. And I feel like the people that get butthurt about it are the ones that are uneducated about how it actually works. Or maybe they just don't know enough, and that's what shows like this are for. We're trying to get people that are very knowledgeable about it to talk about it. What is it really like? How are you actually using it as a tool? How does it make you more efficient? How does it change the way you fish? Like these are maybe answers that these people aren't willing to try to tune in and learn.
Nobody's forcing them.
No. I mean, we're not forcing you to use it just because we're talking about it.
If
you want to be out,
it shouldn't be a controversial topic. Some people go hunting and they literally wear a flannel shirt, and there's been more deer killed in a red flannel shirt smoking cigarettes than any piece of Sitka clothes that's ever been made.
I'm not a hunter, and I don't want to see deer get killed, but more of them get killed by automobiles every year.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I don't like hunters.
There's been more deer get killed out of non-conventional stuff than hasn't, and both methods work. It's just, what do you like? There's no right or wrong answer. What do you like?
All right, I like this one. How do you trigger a fish to bite your minnow if you're getting a bunch of followers? So, like, I go through this all the time. I'm getting a ton of followers and getting them to trigger that bite. So, from the minnow men, how do you trigger a bite when you're just getting a bunch of followers on a minnow?
I would say it's similar to like flipping, like how people that are very dialed in with a flipping jig or flipping Texas rig, they change their weights out and they change their baits out based on rate of fall. So you first have to take into the consideration how heavy of a jig head you're throwing and how heavy of a bait you're putting on that jig head. So how buoyant is it in the water, or how fast does it fall, kind of deal. And that could have something to do with it, is how fast it's moving through the water or how slow it's moving through the water. That's the first thing you got to think of. And then some like it just slow and steady, and they just come up and swallow it. And some like it worked as hard as they can go, like a spot at Lanier. As fast as you can reel it away from them, they like that better. So you kind of have to change it up based on the fish. Like, well, the more you do it, the more you have a feel of how that fish is reacting behind your bait. So that's kind of, there's not really a perfect answer to that. It's kind of depends on the fish.
So it's slow or fast? What about color?
I always try to keep it natural to the lake we're at. So if it's Florida, something golden shinerish. If it's East Tennessee, something threadfin or gizzard. And if it's Lanier or somewhere like that, something that mimics like a blueback or a threadfin, you know.
Kaz, what about you?
Yeah, I play around with weights a lot. I always start out with something that I'm able to at least present the bait efficiently to some fish, something heavy to where I can at least make sure that I'm getting my bait in front of them. And then once, I'm seeing how they react to it, then I'll make slight adjustments to, based on like color. Like he said, I don't think, let's just say something with a blue flake versus a silver flake. I don't think that makes all the difference in the world by any means, but I'll play around. I use scent sometimes. And like in a retrieve, sometimes I'll work it really fast. Sometimes it's a good steady roll. My biggest thing is I always start out using like 6-pound test line. And I always start, instead of having to downsize during the tournament or during practice to get the bite in the first place, I always try to start out really light. And then when I'm getting bit, I always try to test my limits to increase my catch ratio, so to speak. I always try to get the bite first. Once I figure out if I can get a couple bites and generate a few bites, then I'll upsize my bait to either increase the quality of fish I'm catching or, increase my line size to make sure I get them in the boat. And so I always start out kind of finessey, kind of small to make sure I can at least get a bite, and then I'll expand from there.
I like it. Mason Grossbauer, with the single scope inducer this year, what scenarios are you throwing it in perspective mode?
The only time I probably will with just a single scope throw it in perspective is if I'm actively bed fishing for either a largemouth or smallmouth or spot.
Fair enough. Kaz, what about you?
Same. Bed fishing, see beds, and that's about it. I'll be running a 360 transducer this year too. And anytime you're in super, super, super shallow water, that stuff helps. But most of the time I keep it in forward mode.
I like it. What's up, Alan Brooks? That's the Serve IT man himself. So
when are we having another TAA?
Yeah, we need one. Yeah, we need another derb coming soon. All right, what is the craziest thing you've caught while bass fishing? For example, I caught a 2-pound crappie while jigging a spoon on marina docks. What's the craziest thing that you've caught, Rob?
A sturgeon.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah, I have. So one day I was below a dam on the Tennessee River, and I was throwing, 5-inch paddle tail swim bait like you're supposed to, and threw it in the eddy. And I mean, it was one of those, I thought it for sure was a big giant smallmouth. It knocked a foot of slack in it, like it felt like my line got cut right as soon as I cranked one handle. And after about 40 minutes of fighting this thing, I had a sturgeon snagged right on the top of the head. Like I didn't purposely snag this thing. It just
they domed it, dome and sturgeon.
Yeah, but it was probably 5.5 foot long. It was wild.
That's wild. Were you on like 15 pound, 20 pound? How heavy were you?
17 pound fluorocarbon. Right
in the middle. I like it.
Yeah, I'd say it was probably 20 or 30 pounds. It was huge. Like we laid it out and it was about as long as wide as my front deck almost.
That's insane. Kaz, what about you? What's some crazy stuff you caught while bass fishing?
The craziest thing I've ever caught was an alligator, like not intentionally, like flip my punching rig in the middle of a hyacinth mat, and it fell and boom, like a bass would thump it, and I set the hook and it was a gator, not a big one, like a 3-footer. But the craziest thing ever, my dad actually did it. I'll never forget this. This is when I first started fishing. He threw a fluke up by this dock and sitting there working it by this cable on Chattooga, and a school of carp, I'm not kidding, come out from under this dock and swallowed his fluke.
No way.
Like twitching it across the surface.
Son.
And a school of carp come out and one ate it, a fluke. Like, right, we watched the whole thing. I'll never
That's
forget
crazy.
that. Yeah,
That's epic.
it was.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. Alex, you got any crazy fishing stories where you're trying to catch a bass and
Just catfish. I mean, nothing crazy.
catfish?
Yeah, just a
Did,
bunch of
did you
big
think they were
Always.
giant bass?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I still do every time.
Gator, Okeechobee.
Yeah.
Gator. Was it on frog or flipping?
No, it was pitching.
Yeah.
I like it. All right. If you're gonna minnow, what's a good weight to start out with? Like if I'd never thrown a jig head minnow and you're gonna start out, what's a good weight or like what's a good jig head to start out with?
I'll start with a quarter.
I would say at 3/16. That's like a pretty
And
start.
you guys like tungsten? Do you like how big of a hook? Like what's a good starter pack for somebody to go out and buy right now at Fish Store, Georgia, or wherever?
Yeah, like a queen tackle 3/16 or quarter ouncer with a 3-out hook in it.
I like it.
I
like
think
it.
that's perfect. Yep.
What are some good minnows to start out with? You don't have to give out the juice minnows, but give me something we can go catch fish on right now.
Dude, I mean, really anywhere you go, you can catch them. If they're on a minnow bite, you can catch them on a Z-Man, scented jerk shad, that freeloader bait, and a Yamamoto scope shad, or like a another one I really like is the Yamamoto shad shaped worm. I mean,
Yeah,
those
That's
are
a
just
cool one.
standard basics.
I like it. What if they're targeting to Eddie's question that tiny bait when it's like a thumbnail, like a 1.5-inch thread fin on Lanier, for example? Like, what do you are you throwing a Bobby Garland on there, or what are you doing to try to target that tiny thread fin?
So that bait I was just talking about is that Yamamoto shad shaped worm. They make a 3-inch version, and I mean it's the size of a Bobby Garland. It's tiny. It's like really small. Yeah. That is one of the go-tos I go to whenever, like in the fall, let's say late September or September-ish, when they're feeding on that ultra tiny thread fin, like this year's hatch. That's the go-to I always have tied on is that one.
I like it. Cass, what about you?
Yeah, that's a good one. As that little shad-shaped worm. Berkeley actually has, not like talking sponsor plugs, but they actually have it's called a drip minnow coming out. That's going to be out. They have a 3-inch version of that, and I've been fishing with it. It's got a little bubble tail on the end of it, so it moves a lot. It's not a lot of really small baits have a lot of action because they're so small. They don't have a lot of room to be like fluctuating. This one actually does. And then they have a power switch also, which is like an internal jig head, which is you can catch as many fish as you want to on one bait. You don't have to buy like packs of minnows. Yeah, you can just tie this thing on and throw it, and they make like a 3/8 ounce, 2-inch size. So it's the perfect size, and it's still got some weight to it.
Yep. Another one I've caught them good on. It's if you really want something tiny, is a Bobby Garland slab hunter. It's like a little 2-inch swim bait kind of deal.
I like it. That's cool.
It's got the same tail as that new Jacob Wheeler bait, the Mooch Minnow. That's where he got that tail design, is off that Bobby Garland slab hunter.
Gotcha. I like it. What brand forward-facing sonar are you guys running this year?
Garmin.
So right now on my boat I have the Garmin, but I'm getting the new Mega Live 2 shipped to my house. So I'm going to play with that before the season starts to see which one I'm going to use.
That's exciting. That'll be a fun test to see like where it's at. Because, I mean, if anybody knows how that Garmin screen's been, you know it. So being able to see how it compares. I mean, I've been talking to some guys with Humminbird, and they're pretty impressed with it. I mean, they're talking about seeing their minnow out at 100 and 120 foot. Just talking with them last night, I know. So like the more I'm learning about it, the more I have positive aspirations for it. So I hope it's doing well. So definitely keep us updated on that.
For sure.
with someone's cold boot. Guy B, pull that one up. I caught a 4-pounder spot on Topwater with someone's cold tag in its mouth.
Cold buoy.
Cold buoy.
That's awesome.
That's pretty wild.
That is cool.
Do you think he just snagged the cold tag and he's sitting up there floating and he thought it blew up on it?
Yeah.
What are some tips for ditch fishing? So, Connor, we kind of talked about that in the beginning, but like, just give us. If I'm going to go fish a ditch right now, what are you looking for? Like, what is a ditch? I know we have a ton of old shows on that, but
Fish
like,
head
what's a
spin.
ditch?
Fish head spin.
No, Roadrunner. My bad. Roadrunner. Casey Ashley style.
Yeah, I like it. I like it.
I don't know. I was just making that up.
Sounds good.
Rob ditch fishes all the time.
Yeah. I guess if we're answer Connor's question there, what I look for is never just like a bait is obviously key. Right around until you see bait fish that are present, and any ditch that has like a turn or any irregular looking contour within the ditch, I don't really look for just a straight ditch. You know, those are kind of lame. I like the ones that turn back and forth or have a little point sticking out in them. Just seem to be more high percentage. If you can find bait in one of those, seem to be where more fish congregate.
I like it. Any more questions out there? Get them in the next couple minutes. We're going to wrap up the show and keep it going. Rob, where's the next place you're going fishing? Are you fishing any derbs? Like what's going on in the off season? You got anything fun coming up?
So I was thinking about fishing on Nickajack in a tournament on Saturday, but apparently you can't be a pro and fish the tournament. So I'm not fishing it anymore, but I think I might head down to Alabama, if you know what I mean. Or Lanier. I don't know. I might be at Lanier. Is there a tournament? Somebody tell me if there's a tournament on Lanier. I want to fish a tournament.
I don't know if there's one this weekend.
No lakes around here is having a tournament, but is there one on Lanier?
I'm sure you could find one somewhere.
Me and Cass might fish in old Glenville up there in the mountains.
Well, shoot, I might be coming to Glenville on Saturday.
Yeah, come on, tickle a minute with the rest of it.
Shoot.
Yeah.
It's the same thing as some lakes you're familiar with. You'll be fine. All right. Kaz, you had a reaction at the Toys for Tots tournament. Can you analyze that a little bit?
Yeah, so it wasn't a huge deal, but I had a kind of a mishap with weighing in my fish last Saturday and had to get a little reweigh.
Weights and fish.
Yeah, we're gonna weights and fish. It's what it looked like. But no, so I had my scale. I always try my best to weigh my fish before I bring them to the scale. I weigh them throughout the day just to help with culling. And usually on either a Rapala scale or above a scale, whatever you use, it's always going to be about a quarter to a half a pound light of the tournament scale. It seems to be pretty typical. I've got above a scale. My scale said I had 20 pounds and 10 ounces. The smallest fish that we had in our bag was 4 pounds even. So mathematically, you can't have less than 20 pounds, right? So we bring our fish up to weigh him in, and he says 1930. So, that's almost 2 pounds less, roughly, than what I had on my scale. So I asked for a reweigh, and wasn't mad, and it was just I could have been wrong, but I just wanted to make sure and just I asked the guy, super great person, weighing him in. He was really nice. I said, hey, you wouldn't care to throw those on there one more time? My scale said so and so, and I've never asked for a reweigh before in my life. And he said, yeah. He's like, you've lost a lot of water weight. Are you sure? I'm like, yeah, let's just throw them on there one more time. And he put them on there, and they said 2110. So I don't know what happened, but he thinks that the scales locked too fast and they had a slight malfunction. So I'm glad I did that. It was the difference between 15th place and 3rd place. So clutch move. But no,
clutch reweigh for sure.
It was kind of it was iffy, and if I been the crowd and seen somebody have that kind of differentiation on the scales, I could see where it would raise some eyebrows. But that's just how it was, and it ended up being about accurate to what my scale said and what I thought it should have been. So it worked out for the better for sure.
For sure. All right, boys, we're going to wrap it up here tonight. Thank y'all for tuning in. I know it was sad not having Danny here, but we did the best we could. We tried to keep this boat rolling down the lake. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Rob, thanks for being here. Let's hear it.
I need everybody watching to go on Bassmaster.com before midnight and vote for me, please, on blooper of the year for the Bassies for Bassmaster.
Yes. So everybody in the comments, if y'all can go over to Bassmaster.com, Bassies, you just type in Bassies on Bassmaster.com. You'll find it. Go on their social media. There's a link in their bio over there. Go vote for Rob. I already voted. I'll see if I can go vote again. I don't know if it'll let you vote twice, but I'm going to try and go vote there. And then also check out these guys on social media. Check out Rob RG Fishing and Kaz Anderson Fishing on YouTube and Instagram, all the stuff. Book a guide trip. Rob, I know you're still doing a couple little guide trips and stuff, right? Like some specialty trips. So definitely go hit him up. Try to get on the water with him. I actually got to be in the boat with both of these guys a couple weeks ago, and they were really showing me the Minnow Clinic. That's why I called them the Minnow Men going into tonight. So these guys are a lot of fun to be in the boat with. That's one thing. Like, you can have a guide who's really good at fishing, but you're not going to have more fun in the boat than you will with these two guys right here. So, like, definitely check it out. If you can get in the back of the boat with them, it's a ton of fun. I'm glad to call these guys my friends, and I appreciate them showing up and helping me get through this show, hosting while Danny's gone. So thank y'all so much. Kevin, thanks for being here. Alex, thanks for running the boards. It was a awesome show. So go check them out. Thank y'all for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe, hit the like button on this thing, and we're out. Ian, I love you, buddy. Appreciate it.